Hi, Paul Higgins here. What we're going to look at is this utility called the Convert Cache to SQLite utility. What it does, it converts a SAS Planet formatted cache to SQLite 3. This is the original format that SAS Planet used, and a lot of people are still using it. Hopefully not, but if they are, the problem with it, it becomes huge and very difficult to manage. It has thousands and thousands of folders and files, whereas an SQLite is much smaller. It has much less folders and files, as we'll see. So it automates the cache manager process. SAS Planet has a cache manager that does this, and you can use it manual if you like. Go into SAS Planet, start the cache manager, and set up the fields, which is very difficult to do, I found. But if you use this utility, it will automatically set up all the fields properly to process. And the other thing is, it can run multiple concurrent cache managers, so we can spread the load over multiple tasks to actually do the processing. So what I'm going to show you is how to start the utility, the fields in the utility, the current SAS Planet cache, how it's set up. We're going to do miscellaneous checks before starting to do run the utility. And then we're going to convert a cache to SQLite 3. And finally, we're going to update and restart SAS Planet. Okay, how do you start this utility? You go to SATU chart and you go to the second panel. If it's not open, just click this long bar here. And down here it has a list of all the utilities, and one of them is the Convert Cache utility. If you click that, it will bring up the utility that we're just talking about. And that's one way to start it. The other way is to go to the directory where SATU chart is installed, find that utility and click on it. I'm not going to show you that. Okay, that's the way you start it. Now let's take a look at the fields in that utility. So if I go back to the SATU chart here, and this time we're going to actually start it. And it'll come up. It comes up with a command prompt here. If there's things go wrong, you simply can come in here and kill the command prompt, or as it says, issue a Control+C here. Okay, here's the fields. Up here it has a message box that tells you what you should be doing. Down here there is the source cache. So what you would do is use this little button here to set up the source cache. Then the output directory, that is where we're going to create the new cache. And when we select the source cache, all the cache names are going to appear in here, all the maps that SAS Planet has. And down here is the concurrent cache manager. This is the number of concurrent tasks that you can run. And below that is the SAS Planet directory. This utility has to know where SAS Planet is installed, so you have to put that in. And there's a checkbox here, remove the source cache tiles as they're created. Don't recommend you do that. It'll overwrite the existing tiles. Probably don't need that. There's a delay here. It's a delay between the amount of characters we send to utility from SATU chart, and you probably want to set it at 200 milliseconds. There's a help file here. If you press it, it brings up in your browser a help, and if you go to the Convert Cache one here, it tells you all the things that you should be looking at. And let's go back to the utility again. The help file, there is a tutorial button here which we're looking at right now, and finally there's the actual button that you press to do the conversion. And that's all the fields. Okay, let's look at the current SAS Planet and see how the cache is set up. So we go to SAS Planet here, you go up to the settings, and you press the options here, and in the cache tab it tells how the cache is set up. And right now the native cache folder is this. It's on my E drive, and you notice it has two directories here, the main directory, then the cache directory. That's how it's set up. Down here, the default cache type right now is SAS Planet, and we're going to change that later to the SQLite 3, and we're also going to put in this here field here, which is already set, but I'm going to show you how to set it again. So that's all you need to look at as far as SAS Planet's setup. Okay, before starting, there's a few checks that you may want to make. The first is, if you go to SAS Planet itself, you may want to change the source to just cache. We don't want anything coming in here to updating the cache. Remember to turn it back afterwards. The other thing is, if you bring up the task manager, and most people don't know this, but if you press Control plus Shift plus Escape, it will bring up the task manager. And first off, you might want to look at the processes that are running right here, because that utility is going to take a lot of resources, and you don't want it competing with other things that are running. So you may want to turn off things like the chart plotter, like Microsoft Edge, and whatever else you don't want to use right now, because the utility doesn't want to compete with it. The other thing is, if you go to performance here and you go to the disk, if it says it's a solid SSD, that means it is a solid state drive. If it says HDD, it means it is a spinning disk, and it cannot stand as much much access as a solid state drive can, which will determine how many tasks we can run concurrently against it. And what else? That's about it, I think. Okay, let's actually do the conversion to SQLite 3 from the old SAS Planet type of cache. So back to SATA chart here, start up our utility again, convert cache, and up it comes here, and it tells you up here what you should be doing. What it's saying is you're supposed to go to this here source cache and select this cache that we're going to convert. So I'll go to my, everything happens to be on my E drive here. Native cache, SAS Planet cache. So you select it, and you also select the cache folder underneath it. And when I do that, watch this box down here. It automatically populates this with all the maps from that there cache right there. So these are all the maps we're going to try and convert, or if we want to. And the output directory, this is the one we're going to convert to, where we're going to put the new converted cache, new SQLite SAS Planet cache. Okay, it's got nothing in it right now. We select it, has it there. And before I get to this, Down here it has the concurrent cache managers. This is the number of concurrent threads. This program is going to start multiple copies of SAS Planet and the conversion routine within them. And as I said before, if you are dealing with a hard disk drive, don't make this more than 2, because you're going to really pound the disk drive. And if it's a spitting disk, it's going to be going back and forth like crazy. So ours is not a spinning disk. I'm going to just set it to 3, but I could go up to a maximum of 8. The next thing you want to do is tell where SAS Planet is, the directory itself is, and it happens to be right here. And we'll just select that. We got that there. We're not going to do anything down here. And I think we're ready to go. So you simply press Convert Cache. Oh, yeah, sorry. You got to select the cache name, the maps you want to convert. Right now, none of them are selected. And if you want, you can do them one at a time, or you can do them all. Just press this button over here and press Convert Cache. Now you're going to see here, it's going to bring up dozens of windows. And just sit back and watch, because if you try to interfere with this, it'll stop and you'll have to start over. So right now it's bringing up 3 copies of SAS Planet, and within it the actual routines to the cache managers to actually do the conversions. So it's going to bring up a cache manager in each of them and assign them work. See, it says up there, do not open the SAS Planet window, just let it work. And you're going to see all sorts of things coming down at the bottom here. The actual progress windows for each of the cache managers. I think the dinging sound is bringing up a pop-up, and the cache manager finishes, it brings up a pop-up, and this program will actually terminate it. So at the top there it says map started 5 of 8. It's converting 8. So there's 8 different maps down here, and the total cache manager is 3. Total not finished is 3. And you see here in this little progress window what cache manager is doing what. This one's processing Navionics Marines. This is ArcGIS imagery. And this is Hybrid Google. Now I'm just going to stop the video just for a few minutes while this completes. Okay, it finished. It took 8 minutes and 30 seconds to convert this here cache that was in the old format to the cache in the new format. And let's go take a look at that directory. New cache, SQLite cache there. There it is. There is all the maps again, all the caches, and they should be in SQLite format. Let's just check. We'll just keep zooming down here until we hit a database. And there, it is an SQLite database. So that's all there is to actually converting from the old format to the new format. Now, there's one thing I want to point out before we leave here, is that if I look at the utility again, You can, while it's running, press this cancel button and it will stop and it'll ask you whether you want to terminate or not, and you can say yes or no. If you say yes, it'll terminate, and later on you can restart it, and it will have remembered what maps it actually has completed and which one haven't, and it'll put only the ones up here that haven't completed. And if you say you want to continue on, then it will just continue on from where you were before. Okay, so that's all there is. So if we go to the settings and we click settings and options, and we go to the cache option here, right now it was using the old cache in their strange format. I'm just going to reset that. Pardon me, wrong button. I'll reset it to here, and then come down to here, and we will go back to the directory where we converted to new SASP-like cache. We'll simply copy that address as text and then go back here to SATU chart in the options, and down here it has the SQLite 3 cache. We'll simply paste in the new one, and then we come down here and we have to change the format to SQLite 3, and then we have to apply it. And then what we have to do is recycle SAS Planet, because it has updated the cache information, and SATU chart will look at that information, and it may not be up to date if we haven't recycled SAS Planet. So I'm just going to recycle it and restart it. Okay, just to be sure, we'll look at the options again. Cache, and now it's using the SQLite cache in our new directory, and the format is SQLite 3. So we can close that, and the next thing we want to do is make sure that the source is back to internet and cache. Okay, that's it. That's all it's updating SAS Planet with the new cache. Okay, here are the results of our conversion here from the old to the new. This is the old one. It only took 8.5 minutes to convert it. The size on disk of the original SAS Planet was 331 megabytes, and there was 48,000 files, and the number of folders was 6.3 thousand folders. If you look at the new one, it took a little bit more space because now we're dealing in databases and it's putting more information in the tables. But now there's only there is now 371 megabytes of storage. The number of files is 146, and the number of folders is 289. So we've significantly reduced the size of our cache. Okay, I showed you how to start the utility, the fields in the utility, the current cache settings. We converted, we had the miscellaneous one, miscellaneous checks before starting. We converted a cache to SQLite 3, and we updated and restarted SAS Planet. Thank you for watching.